Hello, greetings. So I'll just get straight to the point. Essentially, I want to do the reading stuff, but right now I don't have time to edit it, so this is gonna just be a raw recording of me reading. In the future, I'll have something edited, or I'll have a way to expedite the process. But as of right now, I have so much limited time. I only have so much time in a week, so I'm just gonna get into it. Expect one or two of these a week. We're gonna start with "Damned" by Chuck Palahniuk. Let's get right into it. 1. Are you there, Satan? It's me, Madison. I'm just now I'm just now arrived here in hell. But it's not my fault, except for maybe dying from an overdose of marijuana. Maybe I'm in hell because I'm fat. A real porker. If you can go to hell for having low self-esteem, that's why I'm here. I wish I could lie and tell you I'm bone thin, with blonde hair and big tatas. But trust me, I'm fat for a real good reason. To start with, please let me introduce myself. How to best convey the exact sensation of being dead? Yes, I know the word convey. I'm dead, not mentally defective. Trust me, the being dead part is much easier than the dying part. If you can watch much television, then being dead will be a cinch. Actually, watching television and surfing the internet are really excellent practice for being dead. The closest way I can describe death is to compare it to when my mom boots up her notebook computer and hacks into the surveillance system of our house in Mazatlan or Banoff. I'm sorry, Mazatlan or Banff. Look, she'd say, turning the screen sideways for me to see. It's snowing. Blowing softly on the computer would be the interior of our Milan house and sitting room, with snow falling outside the big windows, and by a long distance, holding down her control, Alt and W keys, my mom would draw open the sitting room drapes, all the way. Press the control and D keys. She'd dim the lights by a remote control, and we'd both sit on a train or in a rented town car or aboard a leased jet, watching the pretty winter view through the windows of that empty house displayed on her computer screen. With the control and F keys, she'd light a fire in the gas fireplace. We'd listen to the hush of the Italian snow falling, the crackling of the flames via the studio audio monitors of the security system. After that, my mom would keyboard into the system for our house in Cape Town, then log on to view our house in Brentwood. She could simultaneously be all places, but no place, mooning over sunsets and foliage everywhere except where she actually was. At best, a sentry. At worst, a voyeur. My mom will kill half a day on her notebook computer, just looking at empty rooms full of our furniture, tweaking the thermostat by remote control, turning down the lights, and choosing the right level of soft music to play in each room, just to keep the cat burglars guessing, she'd tell me. She'd toggle the camera to camera, watching the Somali maid clean our house in Paris. Hunched over her computer screen, she'd sigh and say, My crocus are blooming in London. From behind his open business section of the Times, my dad would say, The plural is crocoses. Probably my mom would cackle then, hitting her control and L keys to lock a maid inside a bathroom from 3 continents away because the tile didn't look adequately polished. To her, this passed for way wicked good fun. It's affecting the environment without being physically present. Consumption and absentia. Like having a hit song you recorded decades ago still occupying the mind of a Chinese sweatshop worker you'll never meet. It's powerful, but a kind of pointless and potent power. On the computer screen, a maid would I'm sorry. On the computer screen, a maid would place a vase filled with fresh-cut peonies on the windowsill of our house in Dubai, and my mom would spy by satellite, turning down the air conditioning colder and colder, with a tapping keystroke via her wireless connection, chilling that house, that one room, meat locker cold, ski slope cold, spending a king's ransom on Freon and electric power, trying to make some doomed $10 worth of pretty pink flowers last one more day. That's what it's like to be dead. Yes, I know the word absentia. I'm 13 years old, not stupid, and being dead, ye gods, do I comprehend the idea of absentia. Being dead is the very essence of traveling light. Being dead means nonstop, 24/7, 365 days a year, forever. How it feels when they pump out all of your blood you don't want me to describe. Probably I shouldn't even tell you I'm dead, because no doubt now you feel awfully superior. Even other fat people feel superior to dead people. Nevertheless, here it is, my hideous admission. I'll fess up and come clean. I'm out of the closet. I'm dead. Now, don't hold it against me. Yes, we all look a little mysterious and absurd to each other, but no one looks as foreign as a dead person does. We can forgive some strangers her choice to practice Catholicism or engage in homosexual acts, but not her submission to death. We hate a backslider. Worse than alcoholism or heroin addiction, dying seems like the greatest weakness. And in a world where people say you're lazy for not shaving your legs, then being dead seems like the ultimate character flaw. It's as if you're shirked life, simply not made enough serious effort to live up to your full potential. You quitter. Being fat and dead. Let me tell you, that's the double whammy. No, it's not fair. But even if you feel sorry for me, you're probably also feeling pretty darn smug that you're alive, and no doubt chewing on a mouthful of some poor animal that had the misfortune to live below you on the food chain. I'm not telling you all of this to gain your sympathy. I'm 13 years old, and a girl, and dead. My name is Madison, and the last thing I need is your stupid condescending pity. No, it's not fair. But it's how people do. The first time we meet another person, an insidious little voice in our head says, I might wear eyeglasses or be chunky around the hips or a girl, but at least I'm not gay or black or a Jew. Meaning, I may be me, but at least I have the good sense not to be you. So I hesitate to even mention that I'm dead, because everyone already feels so darn superior to dead people, even Mexicans and AIDS people. It's like when learning about Alexander the Great in our 7th grade influences of Western history class. What keeps running through your head is, if Alexander was so brave and smart and great, why'd he die? Yes, I know the word insidious. Death is the one big mistake that none of us ever plan to make. That's why the bran muffins and the colonoscopies. It's how come you take vitamins and get pap smears. No, not you. You're never going to die. So, now you feel all superior to me. Well, go ahead and think that. Keep smearing your skin with sunblock and feeling yourself for lumps. Don't let me spoil the big surprise. But, to be honest, when you're dead, probably not even homeless people and retarded people will want to trade your places. I mean, worms get to eat you. It's like a complete violation of all your civil rights. Death ought to be illegal, but you don't see Amnesty International starting any letter-writing campaigns. You don't see any rock stars banding together to release hit singles with all the proceeds going to solve my getting my face chewed off by worms. My mom would tell you I'm too flip and glib about everything. My mom would say, Madison, please don't be such a smart aleck. She'd say, you're dead. Now just calm down. Probably me being dead is a gigantic relief to my dad. This way, at least, he won't have to worry about me embarrassing him by getting pregnant. My dad used to say, Madison, whatever man ends up with you, he's going to have his hands full. If my dad only knew. When my goldfish, Mr. Wiggles, died, we flushed him down the toilet. When my kitten, Tiger Stripe, died, I tried the same deal, and we had to call a plumber to snake the pipes. What a big mess. Poor Tiger Stripe. When I died, I won't go into the details, but let's say some Mr. Pervy McPervert mortician got to see me naked and pump out all my blood and commit God only knows what deranged carnal hijinks with my virginal 13-year-old body. You can call me glib, but death is about the biggest joke around. After all the permanent waves and ballet lessons, my mom paid for. Here I am getting a hot spit tongue bath from some paunchy, depraved mortuary guy. I can tell you, when you're dead, you pretty much have to give up your demands about boundaries and personal space. Just understand, I didn't die because I was too lazy to live. I didn't die because I wanted to punish my family. And no matter how much I slag my parents, don't get the idea that I hate them. Yes, for a while I hung around, watching my mom hunched over her notebook computer, tapping the keys, Control, Alt, and L, to lock the door of my bedroom in Rome, my room in Athens, all my rooms around the world. She keyboarded it to close all my drapes after that, turn down the air conditioning, and activate the electrostatic air filtration so not even dust would settle on my dolls and clothes and stuffed animals. It simply makes sense that I should miss my parents more than they miss me, especially when you consider that they only loved me for 13 years, while I loved them for my entire life. Forgive me for not sticking around longer, but I don't want to be dead, and just watching everybody while I chill rooms, flicker the lights, and pull the drapes open and shut. I don't want to be simply a voyeur. No, it's not fair. But what makes Earth feel like hell is our expectation that it should feel like heaven. Earth is Earth. Dead is dead. You'll find out for yourself soon enough. It won't help the situation for you to get all upset. Chapter 2. Are you there, Satan? It's me, Madison. Please don't get the impression that I dislike hell. No, really, it's way swell. Tons better than I expected. Honestly, it's obvious you've worked very hard for a very long time on the roiling, surging oceans of scalding hot barf and the stinking sulfur smell and the clouds of buzzing black flies. If my version of hell fails to impress you, please consider that to be my own shortcoming. I mean, what do I know? Probably any grown-up would pee yourself silly seeing the flying vampire bats and majestic cascading waterfalls of smelly poop. No doubt the fault is entirely my own, because I had never imagined hell, it was as a... Because if I'd ever imagined hell, it was a fiery version of that classic Hollywood masterpiece, The Breakfast Club. Populated, let's remember, by by a hypersocial, pretty cheerleader, a rebel stoner type, a dumb football jock, a brainy geek, and a misanthropic psycho, all locked together in their high school library, doing detention on the otherwise ordinary Saturday, except with every book and chair being blazing on fire. Yes, you might be alive and gay or old or a Mexican, lording that over me, but consider that I've had the actual experience of waking up on my first day in hell, and you'll just have to take my word for what all this is like. No, it's not fair, but you can forget about the fabled tunnel of bright, spectral white light and being greeted by the open arms of your long-deceased grandma and grandpa. Maybe other people have reported the blissful process, but consider that those people are currently alive, or they remain living for sufficient time to report on their encounter. My point is, those people enjoyed what clearly labeled a near-death experience. I, on the other hand, am dead, with my blood long ago pumped out and worms munching on me. In my book, that makes me the higher authority. Other people, like famous Italian poet Dante Alighieri, I'm sorry to say, simply hoisted a generous helping of campy make-believe on the reading public. Thus, disregard my account of hell at your own peril. First off, you wake up lying on the stone floor inside a fairly dismal cell composed of iron bars, and take my stern advice, don't touch anything. The prison cell bars are filthy dirty. If by accident you do touch the bars, which look a tad slimy with mold and someone else's blood, do not touch your face or your clothes, nor if you have any aspirations to stay looking nice until Judgment Day. And do not eat the candy you'll see scattered everywhere on the ground. The exact means by which I arrived in the underworld remain a little unclear. I recall a chauffeur standing curbside somewhere next to a parked black Lincoln town car, holding a white placard with my name written on it. Madison Spencer. In all caps, terrible handwriting. The chauffeur, those people never speak English, had on mirrored sunglasses, and a visored chauffeur cap, so most of his face was hidden. I remember him opening the rear door so I could step inside. After that was a way long drive, with the windows tinted so dark I couldn't quite see out. But what I've just described could have been any one of 10 bazillion rides I'd taken between airports and cities. Whether that town car delivered me to hell, I can't swear. But the next thing is I woke up in this filthy cell. Probably I woke up because someone was screaming. In hell, someone is always screaming. Anyone who's ever flown London to Sydney, seated next to or anywhere in the proximity of a fussy baby, you'll no doubt fall right into the swing of things in hell. What with the strangers and crowding and seemingly endless hours of waiting for nothing to happen, for you, hell will feel like one long nostalgic hit of deja vu, especially if your in-flight movie was The English Patient. In hell, whenever the demons announce they're going to treat everyone to a big-name Hollywood movie, don't get too excited, because it's always The English Patient, or unfortunately, The Piano. It's never The Breakfast Club. In regard to the smell, hell comes nowhere near as bad as Naples in the summertime during a garbage strike. If you ask me, people in hell just scream to hear their own voice, and to pass the time. Still, complaining about hell occurs to me as a tad bit obvious and self-indulgent. Like so many experiences you venture into knowing full well that they'll be terrible. In fact, the core pleasure resides in their very innate badness, like eating Swanson frozen chicken pot pies at boarding school, or a banquet frozen Salisbury steak on the cook's night out, or eating really anything in Scotland. Allow me to venture that the sole reason we enjoy certain pastimes, such as watching the film version of Valley of the Dolls, arise from the comfort and familiarity of its very inherently poor quality. In contrast, the English Patient tries desperately to be profound and only succeeds in being painfully boring. If you'll forgive the redundancy, what makes the earth feel like hell is our expectation that it ought to feel like heaven. Earth is earth. Hell is hell. Now stop with the whining and caterwauling. On that basis, it does seem cliched and obvious to arrive in hell and then weep and gnash and rend your garments because you find yourself immersed in raw sewage or plopped down atop a bed of white-hot razor blades. To scream and thrash seems hypocritical, as if you bought a ticket and seated yourself to watch Jean de Florette, and then complain loudly, resentfully of the fact that all the actors are speaking French. Or like the people who travel to Las Vegas only to harp about how it's so tacky. Of course, even the casinos that take a stab at elegance with crystal chandeliers and stained glass, even those are crowded with the den of cacophony of plastic slot machines, flashing strobe lights to seize your attention. In such a situation, the people who whine and moan might imagine they're making a contribution, but really, they're just being another petty annoyance. The other most important rule, worth repeating, is don't eat the candy. Not that you'll be even remotely tempted, because it's scattered on the dirty ground. And it's the candy even fat people and heroin junkies won't eat. Rock candy, rock hard bazooka bubblegum, sensen, saltwater taffy, black crows, and popcorn balls. Given the fact that you, yourself, are still alive, and black, or a Jew or whatever, bully for you, you just keep eating those bran muffins. You'll have to take my word for all these details, so listen up and pay close attention. Flanking your cell, other cells stretch to the horizon in both directions, most containing a single person, most of these people screaming. Even as my eyes flutter open, I hear a girl's voice say, "Don't touch the bars." Standing in the next cell, a teenage girl displays both her hands, spreading the fingers wide to show her palms smeared with smut. There really is the most dreadful mildew problem in hell. It's like an entire underworld with sick building syndrome. My neighbor, I'd wager, is a high school junior because she has the hip development to hold up a straight line skirt, and she has breasts instead of just frills or a smock to filling out the front of her blouse. Even with smoke clouding the air and the occasional vampire bat fluttering through my line of vision, I can see her Manolo I'm sorry, I don't know clothing lines, unfortunately. I can see her Manolo blank shoes are counterfeit. The kind you might buy sight unseen over the internet from a pirate operation in Singapore for $5. If you can stomach yet another piece of advice, do not die while wearing cheap shoes. Hell is, well, hell on shoes. Anything plastic melts, and you don't want to walk barefoot over broken glass for the rest of eternity. When it comes your time, when the proverbial bell tolls for thee, seriously consider wearing a basic low-heel Boswegian penny loafer in a dark color that won't show dirt. This teenage girl in the next cell calls over asking, "What are you damned for?" Getting to my feet, stretching my arms and dusting off my legs of my skirt, I replied, "Smoking marijuana, I guess." Out of courtesy, rather than genuine interest, I asked the girl about her own cardinal sin. The girl shrugs her shoulders, pointing one stained, smutty finger toward her feet. She says, "White shoes after Labor Day." Her sad shoes. Their ersatz leather is white and already scuffed, and you can never actually polish counterfeit Milano Balniks. "Beautiful shoes," I lie, nodding my head towards her feet. "Are those..." It's just torturing me now. "Are those Manolo Balniks?" Please, in the comments, tell me how to pronounce that. "Yes," she lies in return. "They are. They cost a fortune." Another detail to remember about hell. Whenever you ask why anyone is damned for all eternity, she'll tell you jaywalking, or carrying a black purse with brown shoes, or some petty nonsense. In hell, you'd be foolish to count on people displaying high standards of honesty. The same goes for Earth. The girl in the next cell takes a step closer, and still looking at me, she says, "You know, you're really pretty." The statement exposes her as a super all-out major league liar, but I don't say anything in response. "No, I mean it," she says. "All you need is more eyeliner and some mascara." Already she's digging in her shoulder bag, also white, fake Coach, plastic, picking out tubes of mascara and compacts of turquoise Avon eyeshadow. With one dirty hand, the girl waves for me to lean my face between the bars. It's my experience that girls tend to be terrifically smart until they grow breasts. You may dismiss this observation as my personal prejudice, based on my own tender age, but 13 years seems to be when human beings reach their fullest flower of intelligence, personality, and pluck. Both girls and boys. Not to boast, but I believe a person is her most truly exceptional at the age of 13. Look at Pippi Longstockings, Pollyanna, Tom Sawyer, and Dennis the Menace, before she finds herself conflicted and steered by hormones and crushing gender expectations. Let girls get their menstruation, or boys have their first wet dream, and they instantly forget their own brilliance and talent. Again, here's a reference to my influences of Western history textbook. For a long time after puberty, it's like the Dark Ages that fell between the Athenian Enlightenment and the Italian Renaissance. Girls get their boobs, and they forget they were ever so gutsy and smart. Boys, too, can display their own brand of clever and funny behavior, but let them get their first erection, and they go complete moron for the next 6 years. Both genders, adolescence occurs as a kind of ice age of dumbness. And yes, I know the word gender. Ye gods! I may be pudgy and flat-chested and nearsighted and dead, but I'm not a moron. Yes, and I know that when a super sexy older girl with hips and breasts and nice hair wants to take off your glasses and paint you a smoky eye, she's merely trying to enroll you in a beauty contest you already won. It's a kind of slummy, condescending gesture, like when rich people ask poor people where they summer. To me, this smacks of the blatant, insensitive, let them eat cake type of chauvinism. Either that, or the attractive older girl is a lesbian. Either way, I don't offer my face, even as she stands ready, brandishing a gloppy mascara brush like a fairy godmother's magic wand to turn me into some floozy Cinderella. To be honest, whenever I watch the classic John Hughes film, The Breakfast Club, and Molly Ringwald leads poor Ally Sheedy into the girl's bathroom, then brings her out with those hideous 1980s smears of rouge, Under each cheekbone, and Allie's hair tied back with that preppy ribbon, and her lips painted that dated red, like a cheap China doll version of Ringwald's own sellout Hoary Vander Hoor Vogue magazine conformity. Poor Allie reduced to a kind of living. Breathing. Nagel print. I always yell at the television, "Run, Allie!" Really, I scream, "Wash your face, Allie, and just run." Instead of submitting my face, I say, I better not. Not until my eczema clears up some. At this, the magic mascara wand jerks back. The Avon eyeshadow and lipsticks all clatter back into the fake Coach bag, even as her eyes squint, searching my face for signs of inflamed, red, flaky skin and open sores. It's like my mom would tell you. Every new maid wants to fold your underwear a different way, meaning you have to stay smart and not let yourself be pushed around. Other cells cluster around are two. Some cells empty, others occupied by lone people. No doubt the football jock and the rebel stoner and the brainy geek, the psycho, all serving detention here forever. No, it's not fair, but chances are good that I'll be in this cell for centuries to come, pretending to suffer psoriasis, even while hypocrite people scream and complain about the humidity and the smell, and my hoary Vanderhoor neighbor squats down to try to spit shine her cheapo white plastic shoes with a crumpled wad of Kleenex. Even against the stink of poop and smoke and sulfur, you can smell her dime store perfume, like a mixed fruit flavor of chewing gum or instant grape drink. To be honest, I'd rather smell poop. But who can hold their breath for 1,000,000+ years? So simply out of the courtesy, I say, thanks anyway about offering the makeover, I mean. Out of the sheer politeness, I force myself to smile and say, I'm Madison. At this, the teenage girl almost lunges toward the bars which separate us, all breasts and hips and high-heeled shoes, now obviously pathetically grateful for my companionship. She grins to show me her ever mass-produced porcelain veneered incisor. In her pierced earlobes, she's even wearing diamond earrings. So very Claire Standish of her. Only vulgar, dime-sized, dazzle-cut cubic zirconium, saying, I'm Babette. Dropping the wad of tissue, she thrusts a smutty, stained hand between the bars for me to shake. Chapter 3. Are you there, Satan? It's me, Madison. Please don't feel hurt, Satan. But my parents raised me to believe you didn't exist. My mom and dad said you and God were invented in the superstitious, backward pea brains of hillbilly preachers and Republican hypocrites. According to my parents, there's no such place as hell. If you asked them, they'd probably tell you I'm already reincarnated as a butterfly, or a stem cell, or a dove. I mean, my parents both said how important it was for me to see them walking around naked all the time, or I'd grow up to be totally a Miss Pervy McPervert. They told me that nothing was a sin, just a poor life choice. Poor impulse control, that nothing is evil. Any concept of right versus wrong, according to them, is merely a cultural construct relative to one specific time and place. They said that if anything should force us to modify our personal behavior, it should be our allegiance to a social contract, not some vague, externally imposed threat of flaming punishment. Nothing is wicked, they insisted, and even serial killers deserve cable television and counseling, because multiple murderers have suffered too. In the spirit of the classic John Hughes film, The Breakfast Club, I've begun to write an essay in the same manner that student detainees at Sherman High School were required to write 1,000 words on the theme of, who do you think you are? Yeah, I know the word construct. Put yourself in my penny loafers. I'm locked in a barrel cell in hell, 13 years old and doomed to be 13 forever, but I'm not totally self-unaware. What's worse is how my mom even said all her Gaia Earth Mother baloney, the Vanity Fair magazine, when she was promoting her last movie release. The magazine took her picture arriving at the Oscars red carpet, with my dad driving them both in a dinky electric car. But really, when nobody's looking, they go everywhere in a leased Gulfstream jet, even if it's just to pick up their dry cleaning, which they send to have cleaned in France. That one film she got nominated for playing a nun who gets bored and unfulfilled, so she ditches her vows to do prostitution and heroin and have some abortions before she gets her own top rated daytime talk show and marries Richard Gere. A total of nobody went to the film in theatrical release, but the critics creamed all over it. Critics and movie reviewers really, really count on there being no actual hell. My guess is I feel that My guess is I feel about The Breakfast Club the same way my mom feels about Virginia Woolf. I mean, she had to take Xanax just to read the hours, and still cried for almost a year. In Vanity Fair, my mom said the only true evil was how big oil companies were using global warming to push innocent baby polar bears closer to extinction. Even worse, she said, my daughter Madison and I have struggled for years over her tragic childhood obesity. So, yes, I comprehend the term passive aggressive. Other kids went to Sunday school. I went to ecology camp in Fiji. Other girls learned to recite the Ten Commandments. I learned to reduce my carbon footprint. In our Aboriginal skills workshop in Fiji, we used certified organically grown, sustainably harvested. Oh, good God, that is some lib shit. Okay. We use certified, organically grown, sustainably harvested fair trade palm fronds to weave these crappy wallets that everybody threw away. Ecology camp cost about $1 million, but we still all had to share the same filthy bamboo toilet stick to wipe our butts. Instead of Christmas, we had Earth Day. If there was a hell, my mom said you'd go there for wearing fur coats or buying a cream rinse tested on baby rabbits by escaped Nazi scientists in France. My dad said that if there was a devil, it was Ann Coulter. If there's a mortal sin, my mom said it's styrofoam. Most times they'd spout this environmental dogma while walking around naked with the curtains open so that I wouldn't grow up to become a little Miss Hoary Vanderhoor. Sometimes the devil was big tobacco. Sometimes Japanese drift nets. Even worse, it's not as if we traveled to ecological camp aboard sampans, gently pushed along by a Pacific current. No, every single kid got out there on a separate private jet, burning through about a gazillion fossil fuel gallons of dinosaur juice, the likes of which this planet will never see again. Each child was born aloft. A loaf. They were born a loaf. Born a loaf, provisioned with his or her body weight in organic fig bars and free trade yogurt snacks sealed with single-use mylar packaging designed not to biodegrade before the future date of never. All of this burden of homesick children and between meal calories and video gaming systems would rocket toward Fiji at faster than the speed of sound. What a fat load of good that did. Now look at me. Dead from a marijuana overdose. Damned to hell. Scratching my cheeks, raw in an attempt to convince my next door cell neighbor I suffer from communicable psoriasis. Surrounded by a million stale popcorn balls. On the plus side, in hell, you're no longer a slave to the corporeal self, and this can be a blessing to the truly fastidious. Not to put too fine a point on it, but you've never known more of the tedious, endless stroking and scrubbing and evacuation of the various holes required to keep a physical body functional. Should you find yourself in hell, your cell will feature no toilet, nor water, nor bed. Nor will you miss them. No one sleeps in hell, except as a possible defensive posture in retaliation during yet another punitive presentation of the English patient. No doubt my mom and dad meant well, but it's really hard to argue with the fact that I'm trapped within a corroded iron cage boasting a scenic view of a raging excrement waterfall. Actual poop. I mean, not just the English patient. Not that I'm complaining. Trust me, the last thing hell seems to need is its Coles to Newcastle way is one more complainer. Yes, I know the word excrement. I'm trapped and bored, not brain damaged. And it was my parents who told me to act out a little and experiment with recreational drugs. No, it's not fair, but I guess the worst thing they taught me was to hope. If you just planted trees and collected litter, they said, then life would turn out okay. All you had to do was compost your wet garbage and cover your house roof with solar cells, and you'd have nothing. nothing to worry about. Renewable wind energy, biodiesel, whales. That's what my parents considered our spiritual salvation. We see approximately a quadrillion Catholics throwing incense at some plaster statue, or a bazillion zillion Muslims all lined up on their knees and facing New York City. And my dad would say, "Those poor, ignorant bastards." It's one thing for my parents to behave all secular, humanist, and gamble with their own eternal souls. However, it's altogether not all right that they also gambled with mine. They placed their bets with such self-righteous bravado, but I'm the one who lost. We'd see Baptist people on television, waving baby dolls impaled on wooden sticks and dripping with fake ketchup blood in front of some doctor's clinic. And I really could believe that all religions were way batshit loony. In contrast, my dad always preached that if I ate enough dietary fiber and recycled any plastic bottles that had a neck, I'd be fine. If I asked about heaven or hell, my mom gave me a Xanax. Now go figure. I'm waiting to get my tongue yanked out and fried in bacon grease and garlic. Probably demons plan to stub out their cigars in my armpits. Don't get me wrong, hell isn't so dreadful, not compared to ecology camp, and especially not compared to junior high school. Call me jaded, but not much compares to having your legs waxed or getting your navel pierced done at a mall kiosk or bulimia. Not that I'm a totally eating disordered Miss Slutty Von Slutsky. My biggest gripe is still hope. In hell, hope is a really, really bad habit, like smoking cigarettes or fingernail biting. Hope is something really tough and tenacious. You have to give up. It's an addiction to break. Yes, I know the word tenacious. I'm 13 and disillusioned, and a little lonely, but I'm not simple-minded. No matter how hard I try to resist the impulse, I keep hoping I still have my first menstruation. I keep hoping I'll grow really big boobs, like Babette in the Jason Sale. Or reach a hand into my skirt pocket and I find a Xanax. I cross my fingers that if a demon dunks me in a vat of boiling lava, I'll get thrown together naked with the River Phoenix, and that he'll say I'm cute and try to kiss me. The problem is, in hell, there's no hope. Who do I think I am? In 1,000 words. I don't have a clue, but I'll start by abandoning hope. Please help me, Satan. That would make me so happy. Help me give up my addiction to hope. Thank you. Well, I'm going to stop there. I actually don't have a bookmark. Let's do the cardinal sin of... No, I'm not. Hold up. I'm just going to set that upside down over here. I'm going to continue this book. Just another little side note. The reason I'm reading them on here too is like, obviously there's some language in this book that's probably going to be in trouble on Twitch, but at worst on YouTube is I'll just get demonetized, which I don't really give a fuck about. If you enjoy this, please leave a like, leave a comment. Book suggestions, I can take some of those, but I actually have a whole bunch of like Kurt Vonnegut and Charles Bukowski I want to get through too. And some theory stuff, political theory. So I'll try to be consistent in the future. I'll make better quality ones. For now, have a good night. Peace out.